So when was the last time your parents told you they love you?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Never.
That word, I can't remember. I wouldn't be able to, my parents hardly say that.
My mum tells me she loves me every day. My dad, not so much. Like, I could probably count on my hand how many times my dad has told me that he loves me.
My dad told me he loved me last night. My dad's currently away, so I was on the phone to him last night, and at the end of the conversation, he told me that he loves me.
You know how African parents talk about work and money and jobs and career and everything, and so my mum was like giving me some advice, and she's like, you know, I love you, I don't want you to struggle, and blah, 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 whatever. But my dad, God, he hasn't said that in years.
My dad never hugged me. My mum's probably hugged me when I've gone to her and hugged her.
My mum gave me a hug for the first time last year while we were arguing. I'm like, all these white people, they're here hugging their son. You, what are you doing? Look at your mates, they're hugging their sons. When have you hugged me? And then she just tried to shut me off and just stiffly gave me this stiff hug, and I was like, right, kinda can feel a bit of love in this stiffness, like.
Can't remember my mum telling me she loves me, but my dad recently, because last year my dad had a stroke, major, and on top of that, just before Christmas, he had another seizure, so it was like a frantic panic, like he was gonna die, like it was on his last kind of limbs. So he told me he loved us out of, you know, I might be going to see God now, so the last time.
I feel like in an African household, you kind of have to earn for them to say, I love you. You have to do something out of the ordinary.
A lot of Africans, especially in the time of our parents, they came up at a time that was very difficult and very tough. I don't think there was time to focus on emotional aptitude. I think there was only time to focus on, are you educated? Can you get a job? Can you pay those bills? And everything else, you know, was secondary.
I feel like African parents don't tell their kids, I love you often, from a sense of pride. Because when you tell someone you love them, you're coming from a point of vulnerability. You get what I'm trying to say? Every guy that's in a relationship is vulnerable to that girl, and vice versa.
Vulnerability is not a bad thing. Like, vulnerability can be a good thing, especially like parent-to-child relationship is one of the greatest relationships you can ever have. Why not, if you're going to be vulnerable, why not with your children? Why not show your children that you love them? Like, you know, if I'm going to be vulnerable with anyone, it would be my mum. My mum, she knows me in and out, and I feel like I know her the same way. So why not?
They're like a militant mindset, general. You can't show any weakness. You can't show any like sense of vulnerability. So me coming to you and showing affection, you're coming from a place of vulnerability, and they don't like showing that because they feel like it's weak, and then they could be disrespected.
They've grown up in an era where they haven't been told that they are loved, and they don't see it as an important aspect of showing love or of love is to say it. They don't believe that, and that's okay. But I think, like I said before, in this day and age, a lot of people need that reinforcement, especially younger generations.
When your dad said he loved you, how did he make you feel?
When my dad said he loved me, yeah, in all honesty, it was weird. It was like, I don't expect to hear this from you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like, I didn't feel, obviously it's genuine. I know my dad loves me by all the stuff he's done, but to hear him say it, it's like, oh, you're only saying it because of the circumstance we're in. So now it just feels a bit weirded out. It's like, it's a bit creepy sort of thing.
Of course, it's important for parents to vocalize how much they love us, how much they recognize our efforts and so on and so forth, because it does build self-esteem, it builds confidence. We come from them, and if we don't hear it from them, then it won't mean as much coming from everybody else.
It starts at home, you know, self-love. It starts with your parents because they're your guardians, they're the people that raise you, they're the people that mold you. You know, obviously you get to a stage where you start to mold yourself, but they're the people that mold you, and the foundation starts at home.
I think that comes down to security and what makes you secure, how secure you feel in yourself. I feel some people need reassurance, and I feel those that need reassurance may need to hear that. I don't need reassurance. I don't need to hear that. If I do hear it, you know, it'll probably make you smile or blush a bit, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, even fighting the smile, come like I'm a big man, like.
Some people, by telling them that you love them, they know that you love them, but not saying anything, they might have the perception that you don't. So they could go on and say, you know what, my dad's never said they love me, my mom's never said they love me. I don't know if they love me, so I'm just gonna be who I am.
Being away from them when I went to university, I knew that they loved me, I knew that they cared for me, and I didn't have to seek that love in other relationships or outside relationships. I was secure in the love that my parents had for me, and for me that was enough.
I'm a very vocal person, and I'm not afraid of exploring my emotions or, you know, sort of talking about them and that type of thing. So when my mother tells me that she loves me,
you know, it feels wonderful. When my dad, whatever he has told me that he loved me, for the most part, it feels great. But then, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it kind of felt like a bit like forced, because I want to hear my dad tell me first. I want to hear my dad tell me that he loves me first without being prompted.
Do you agree that this whole I love you concept, it's a Western concept?
The I love you concept
Yeah,
is a Western, yeah, it's definitely a Western concept. Definitely. When I was in Nigeria, I'd never heard I love you once from any, and I was there for 6 weeks. Like, I went on there on holiday for 6 weeks. I didn't hear one person say I love you. And I'm around family, I'm around all that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's always, oh, take care, God bless you.
When a people has only ever known one way, there is no arguing with them, and there is no point in arguing with them. They have not been immersed in a Western society or a different society during the formative part of their years. So their mind is not malleable. Their character is barely malleable. You can't shift that. So it's a solid belief. I think it's a grave sadness, you know, that they don't believe that it's a universal concept. I do not believe it's a Western concept. I believe that it is definitely something that we all need. There are people who have all kinds of issues, whether it's mental issues, emotional instabilities, and all those types of things. And sometimes that stuff can be solved by simply expressing love through words, not just by putting a roof over your head or putting food on the table. You decided to have me, you decided to have children, so you should put a roof over my head. You should feed me. Don't expect me to be grateful for the good time that you had. So I need to know with my ears into my heart that you love me.
The term I love you is so Western, because in a Western world, everything is like, especially nowadays, everything is PC. So everything is like, oh, make sure like these people feel good. And saying I love you just makes people feel good. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's like a high almost. Whereas African parents, but I feel they need to catch a balance, because too many African parents live in Africa still. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's wrong. I think you need to adapt it. I think children need to be shown love, and they need to be told that they're loved, especially in this day and age, because I feel like a lot of people, females, might not love themselves as much as they should, and they don't accept themselves as much as they should, and they don't believe they're amazing because they haven't been shown love or been told that they're loved.
At the end of the day, saying I love you is a gesture of saying you care. That's it. If people in the Western world choose that phrase as a way of saying I care about you, that doesn't mean not saying it means you're not saying I care about you. You can say I care about... Right now, me and my kids can come up with a word called fishbong, and I could tell them that means I care about you. So every time I say fishbong, they know what's going on. Every time they say fishbong to me, they know what's going on. Like, if we put that as a concept, we'd then be able to grasp that I love you is just another way of saying I care. And then if my kids are now going out saying, oh, you don't say fishbong to your kids, do you care about them? You know what I'm saying? It's like, at the end of the day, it's just it's a stimulus. It's like another way of saying I care about you.
Do you think people that have gone their whole life without hearing their parents say, I love you often or ever, have missed something?
Yeah, you definitely, I think people that haven't heard their love from their parents vocally have missed something, because there needs to be some sort of affection. People love affection, people love cuddles, people love a pat on the back, people love that. So you kind of need that, because sometimes it could be an inspiration. Sometimes you might have had a bad day at school, you might have had a bad day at work. You just need your mom to say, oh, everything's good, I love you. And that kind of like keeps you going.
I don't think people who have gone their whole life without hearing I love you are necessarily missing something. Actually, no, that's not true. I think they are. I think it's very special when parents say it. I think saying it is important, but also acting like you love them, because it's one thing to say that you love someone without actually showing it.
I feel like people like yourself, like you say, you've never heard it. I think it affects you, from my observation, I believe it affects you in the sense that you kind of get a slice of that upbringing that they had, because it's very, very unlikely that they heard it either. So I think by yourself being immersed in an environment and in a society that encourages somewhat that expression and that communication, you start to kind of notice the deficit that you may have suffered from not hearing it, you know what I mean? And the thing that sucks about that is that you realize it when you're older. So the work is a little bit harder. The fact that we're having this conversation means that it has affected you, and I think it's a wonderful thing for you to explore, and very clearly you're gonna obviously conduct yourself differently when you have children.
I feel even saying I love you, the reason why that can be useful for a child is when a child lacks the understanding of kind of the action, if that makes sense. So sometimes a child may not realize the sacrifice their parents making. A child that does understand it will see that as love, or wow, my mum's doing all this for me.
For example, my mum, when she's my age, she's walking to school bare feet. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Bare feet, 2 miles each day to kind of get fresh water. So when she's come here and provided this opportunity for you, she's thinking, look how much I've done, look at where I've come from. So this is enough by fault.
But a child that doesn't grasp sacrifice, to them it's like they're doing what they need to do. Doesn't mean they love me. Do you know what I'm saying? So in that sense, I can understand why saying I love you may help a child that lacks understanding.
So do you tell your parents you love them?
I texted my mum the other day. She had a picture on her WhatsApp DP, and I texted her, and I asked to text my mum to say, you know what, I love you, mum. And then she texted me back saying she sent me a love thing. And I was thinking, you know what, how does my mum know about all those emojis that she's sending me?
It's weird, actually. I like hearing them say it, but I don't know how much I tell them that I love them.
I tell my parents I love them all the time. Not my dad.
Why do you tell your parents you love them?
I tell my parents, my mum more, I tell my mum more I love her, because more, she's a woman. I need to know if I can treat my mum right, I can treat the ladies right. But my dad, it's like, I never tell my dad I love him, honestly. I don't know why. It's that pride thing again. It's like, Dad, cool. You know what I'm trying to say? Even though he's had a stroke, it's like, Dad, like, it's cool, like, you can walk, you walk again. So it's not even like, there's no affection there. But a part of that is because he didn't give me that affection when I was a kid.
I tell my mum I love her all the time. My dad, not so much, because he doesn't really tell me that he loves me. So it's just an awkward exchange. Like, I feel like saying, like, if I said, Dad, I love you, like, what's he gonna say? Thanks. I don't know. I don't know.
Should you even try and encourage them?
I just feel like it will just be so awkward. Like, oh, Dad, why don't you tell me you love me? Like,
I grew up quite Af, so I'm quite different to my siblings because they're a lot more British. So it was my sister who first said it to my mum. I think she was leaving or something. She's like, all right, bye, mum, love you. And mum was like, hey, okay, bye. Like, my mum, it took her a few times before my mum started saying, okay, yes, yes, me too. She had to say me too a couple times before she could say it. She was like, yes, love you. Now she'll be like, love you, bye.
I told her I loved her maybe about a week ago.
Why? Just randomly?
Yeah, just randomly. Because I thought about all the things that she's done for me, all the sacrifices that she's made for me in keeping me away from people, bad spirits, bad things, not going to jail, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like her words of wisdom have kind of shaped me to the man that I've become.
All right, how would you wrap this up? This season of love, what would you say to African parents? Talk to me.
I will say to African parents, it's very important that you tell your children that you love them, and you also show them that you love them, because love starts at home, and you know, it's the foundation, and I think it helps to shape them into, you know, an adults, and when they get into relationships, it will kind of help them to know what they want. Obviously not unrealistic expectations, but it will help, you know, if you feel like you're loved at home, then when you go out into the big world, like, you'd know what to expect, you know you'll love yourself, so then that person will love you too.
I think even if you don't feel it, saying it's still important, because you don't always feel like you love your brother or your sister, but they are your family, and when you're outside of a situation, you actually love them. Like when you take a step back, I love this person, even though they're annoying me or they're this and that, I still love them.
Don't make it be circumstantial. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So if they're in a car crash and they're on a hospital bed, don't say they love them there. Say them in normal conversation. Yeah, I love you, have a nice day, I love you. Speaking on the phone, I love you. Because that's how I feel like it becomes more of a natural thing and more of like a a free-flowing kind of vibe.
I think they need to change their ways. There's a different way of saying I love you. You do certain actions that will show that you love you. Some people can't say it, but if you give a hug to someone, you never know. Someone could go to work or come back from school and they're really upset and you don't know what's going on. As a parent, you will notice that because you know your kids, because they came from you. And then, so you can give them a hug and then say, you know what, wherever you're going through, I love you, or I'm happy to see you, kind of thing. So it encourages the kids to know that, you know what, they've got that support unit and their families love them no matter what.
Being able to express love is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it is a great strength. And I encourage every person out there, younger, older, please embrace that strength to be able to express love, because it puts you on the upper hand and not the lower hand.
I wouldn't say I'd encourage my mum to say I love you. I encourage her to be more open, be more vulnerable with her feelings, with her emotions. I tell her to express herself more. Whether that comes with saying I love you or not, it doesn't really matter to me. The important thing is her expressing herself and letting her understand that you can open up to your children. You know what I'm saying? You can cry in front of your children. You can share your worries and your fears in front of your children. You can, sometimes it's a bit therapeutic to just open up and let out what you're keeping inside, do you know what I'm saying? And kind of makes her less of an angry person, you know what I mean? When she come home, at least she's not shouting that there's, you know what I'm saying, that there's a dust particle in the air and that, like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think it's more encouraging her to be more open.
Continue loving your kids and try to show them the best possible way that you know how to. But also, like, you know, when a child doesn't feel love because they don't hear it, just try and explain to them the cultural differences. And if you can adapt, why not, you know? Let us share love, you know, there's always room for expanding the way we express love. And I think words also is another way. So if we can incorporate that into the way we relate to our kids, that would be great.